Have you ever considered the freedom of choosing your life partner a luxury? That's a question we may never have had to ask ourselves. Yet, for many in Bihar, India, the freedom to choose is not a given. Here, a tragic reality unfolds behind closed doors, a phenomenon known as forced or captive marriages. These are not love stories born out of mutual affection and respect. Instead, they are tales of coercion and fear, of lives irrevocably altered by the sinister agendas of others. It is a practice where young boys, particularly those with government jobs, find themselves in the crosshairs of organized gangs. These gangs, driven by greed and a twisted sense of tradition, orchestrate these forced marriages with ruthless efficiency. But why target young men with government jobs? The answer lies in the age-old dowry system that still holds sway in many parts of Bihar. A government job means stability, a steady income, and in the eyes of these gangs, it equates to a profitable dowry. The families of girls, unable to afford the exorbitant dowries, often find themselves resorting to desperate and illegal methods to ensure their daughters are married. The boys are kidnapped, often at gunpoint, and coerced into marriage. The girls, on the other hand, are thrust into these unions, their futures bartered away. Neither party consents. Both are victims of a system that values money over human rights and dignity. These forced marriages are a gross violation of individual autonomy, a blatant disregard for the sanctity of personal choice. They are a grim testament to the lengths people will go to uphold harmful traditions and practices. So the next time we think about marriage, let's spare a thought for those who aren't given a choice in the matter, for those who live in the shadows of fear and coercion, whose voices are often drowned out by the clamor of societal expectations and norms. Imagine being targeted and forced into a lifelong commitment against your will. What if your financial status determined your ability to marry? A troubling question, yes, but a stark reality in Bihar, India, where the age-old dowry system still holds sway. This system, deeply entrenched in the societal fabric, is a major catalyst for captive marriages, or forced unions as they're commonly known. Imagine a family with a daughter ready to marry. Traditionally, the family is expected to offer a dowry, a kind of payment in cash or kind, to the groom's family. The dowry serves as a bride price, a financial transaction for marriage. But what happens when the family can't afford this dowry? Here's where the tragic tale twists. Unable to meet the dowry demands, some families resort to desperate and illegal methods. They collaborate with local gangs to kidnap eligible bachelors, usually young men with stable government jobs. These men are then forced into marriage, often under duress and at gunpoint. It's a chilling scenario, sure, but a harsh reality that underlines the links between financial stress, societal norms, and forced marriages. The dowry system, in essence, commodifies marriage, reducing it to a monetary transaction. It places an unfair burden on the bride's family, perpetuating gender inequality and fostering an environment conducive to forced marriages. It's a system that prizes material wealth over the consent and happiness of the individuals involved. However, the issue isn't just about dowry. It's about the mindset that tolerates and perpetuates such practices. It's about a society that values a man's job more than a woman's consent. It's about a culture that turns a blind eye to the violence and coercion involved in these captive marriages. To truly tackle the issue of forced marriages, we must address the root cause, the dowry system, and the societal norms that uphold it. We need to challenge and dismantle these deeply ingrained beliefs, and champion the idea of marriage as a union of equals, not a financial transaction. A system that demands a price for marriage fuels the distressing reality of forced unions, and it's high time we change that. Can a commitment made under duress truly bind two people together? In Bihar, a region of India, this question takes on a chilling reality. Here, weddings are not always celebrations of love, but often they become arenas of fear. Forced marriages, known in local parlance as captive marriages, are conducted under the shadow of guns and the weight of societal pressure. Young men, many of whom hold government jobs, find themselves the targets of this horrifying practice. They're kidnapped, held captive, and then forced into a marriage ceremony at gunpoint. This isn't a scene from a dystopian novel. This is the stark reality for many in Bihar. But the horror doesn't end with the wedding ceremony. The newlywed couples are coerced into consummating their marriage, a deeply personal act transformed into a public spectacle of dominance and control. Consent, a fundamental human right, is tossed aside as the couples are forced into intimacy under threat of violence. This practice not only violates the personal autonomy of the individuals involved, but it also shatters the sanctity of marriage. Marriage, a union often hailed as a sacred bond of love, trust, and mutual respect, is reduced to a transaction conducted under duress. The psychological impact of such a traumatic event is profound and lasting. The victims often suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, and anxiety. They live in constant fear, their lives forever marked by the trauma of their forced marriage. Moreover, the social stigma associated with these forced marriages further exacerbates the victim's plight. They're trapped in a society that turns a blind eye to their suffering, a society that upholds harmful traditions over the rights and well-being of its citizens. The practice of forced marriages, particularly those consummated at gunpoint, is a stark reminder of the urgent need for societal change. It highlights the necessity of challenging and dismantling the deeply ingrained beliefs and practices that perpetuate such horrifying acts. The sanctity of marriage is lost when it is built on a foundation of fear and coercion. What if your only way out of a coerced union was a prolonged legal battle? This question isn't just a hypothetical one. It's the stark reality for many victims of forced marriages in Bihar, India. Every day, countless individuals are coerced into loveless unions, their autonomy stripped away in an instant. These victims, often young boys with promising government jobs, are left with no choice but to seek justice through the courts. The legal battle to nullify these marriages is not for the faint of heart. It's an uphill climb, fraught with bureaucratic red tape, societal stigma, and the looming threat of retribution from the very gangs that organized the forced marriages in the first place. But despite the odds, these brave individuals press on, fueled by their unyielding desire for freedom and justice. They navigate the labyrinthine legal system, armed with little more than their courage and the hope for a better future. And while the path to justice is often long and arduous, recent rulings have offered a glimmer of hope. Judges have begun to recognize the grave injustice of forced marriages and have taken steps to nullify them. These rulings, though still few and far between, are a beacon of hope in an otherwise bleak landscape. They signal a shift in the legal system, a move towards recognizing the rights and autonomy of individuals over outdated and harmful societal norms. But the fight is far from over. Each ruling is a battle won, but the war against forced marriages continues. It's a war not just for freedom, but for the fundamental right to choose one's own destiny. The legal battles fought by these courageous individuals are a testament to their resilience and determination. Their fight is a beacon, illuminating the path towards justice for countless others trapped in similar circumstances. So, while the journey is long and the fight is hard, there is hope. Hope in the form of court rulings that validate the victims' experiences and recognize their rights. Hope in the form of brave individuals who refuse to be silenced, who refuse to let their lives be dictated by others. Justice may be delayed, but it is a ray of hope in the dark world of forced marriages. Can we truly put an end to captive marriages? Yes, we can, but to do so, we must first change our societal mindset. The deeply ingrained beliefs that perpetuate these forced unions need to be challenged and dismantled. The dowry system, the objectification of women, the disregard for consent, all these aspects contribute to the prevalence of captive marriages. But the responsibility of change doesn't lie with the victims alone. It is a collective effort. We need a safer and more equitable society where every individual, regardless of their gender or socioeconomic status, is respected and protected. Education and awareness programs can act as powerful tools in this fight against forced marriages. By empowering individuals, particularly young girls, we give them the strength to resist, to fight back, and to reclaim their freedom. Let's remember, the issue of forced marriages extends beyond Bihar, beyond India. It's a global concern. It's time to challenge the beliefs and practices that perpetuate these forced unions.